Okay, first we have this house in Indiana. It's one of the most scariest houses you probably never want to come across. The house was actually built like in an upside down cross. And this is the homeowner who had purchased the house a couple years prior, but she may have made a terrible mistake. And on the other hand, she has invited these two to come investigate the house to see if her terrified experiences can be verified. The night before, she was sick to her stomach to even think that she had to come back to this house to even show it off. And when she bought the house, her son was working on the ceiling, and then boards started flying off at him, hurt him. She had been clawed, scratched, doors slamming, banging underneath the ground, underneath the board. This was a scary property. You might not want to enter. The man who built the house died in the tub. 2 suicides and 1 hanging. And she also heard 6 months prior to her buying the property that 3 men had been poisoned and another man had committed suicide, which he fell in this chair and they did not find him for a whole week. This home was built in 1890, and she knows and is sure of that everything in this house is evil.
Regarding the shape of the house, it's in the shape of a cross.
Okay, second on my list, Mercer County, West Virginia. Here, on the bank of Lake Shawnee, stands the abandoned remnants of what was once a simple, wholesome family amusement park. And up until 1826, the park had thrived for decades until it was closed in 1966. What started as a kid's playground for children became the site of numerous tragic and disturbing incidents. In the 1940s, a little girl was riding in the swings, swinging along, and a soda delivery truck delivered soda to the concession stand. And when it did, the truck backed up into the swings and killed the little girl. And there were several kids that drowned. One that was a really sad story. A mother brought her 9-year-old here at this park, dropped him off to go swimming. She came back when it closed and she couldn't find him. They searched past 10 p.m. around that time when they found his arms stuck in the drain of the swimming pool as he was drowned and passed away. And there was another incident. A family was out on an outing. They was riding in a canoe in the lake, and the canoe overturned in the lake, and the little boy drowned. That was another crazy episode that happened at this scenery. And before the doors were finally closed, 6 children had died, and that might have been reason enough for the park to close, but it wasn't. In 1985, Daylard White purchased the property with the hopes of reopening it. In the 1950s, Daylard worked there while he was in high school, and this was his dream. This is what he wished he could do, and he did in 1985 try to reopen the property. For years, the locals believed that this park was haunted, maybe even cursed. Then, in the late 1980s, the White family made some curious discoveries. They started finding a lot of pottery and Native American tools and airheads stuff like that. They stopped bulldozing, called Marshall University. They put together a team, then they started uncovering bodies. So that's when they knew they had a Native American burial ground on the property. A series of tragic deaths at an amusement park built on the site of a Native American burial ground? A coincidence? As far as the paranormal investigators are concerned, not a chance. People say when they come to the park, they see the swings move on their own, or maybe they even see the image of a little girl riding the swings. This is no mass hallucination. It's not scientific. It's highly unscientific. Uinta County, Utah. Here, on this 512 acres of rugged land, lies a remote cattle. But according to local legends, this desert landscape is also home to a creature of unspeakable evil, a creature known as the Skinwalker. The Skinwalker is a shapeshifter. It can become anything: a fox, a coyote, a wolf. There are these recorded stories of bipedal creatures walking around with wolf-like heads. The locals on the reservation won't even talk about it, because even mentioning the name of the Skinwalker invites these things in. Skinwalker Ranch, 1994. Experienced ranch Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the ranch and the surrounding area. And almost immediately, they find themselves face to face with something they would later describe something evil. So one day, Terry went out to check on his cattle and noticed what seemed to be a wolf. So he pulls out his .357 Magnum and shoots point blank. And the wolf doesn't react, doesn't appear fazed at all. So he grabs his deer hunting rifle and shoots the wolf to knock it down. So Terry lowered his rifle and followed the wolf's trail, only to discover that it disappeared. Until the days and weeks followed, the Shermans wondered, did they encounter a normal wolf or something more? In the case of the bulletproof wolf, what's interesting is that the wolf are not native to the state of Utah for the past 100 years or so. The werewolf of legend is described as looking very much regular, except much larger, and oftentimes is said to be something bloodthirsty and cunning. We have lots of interesting legends around the world. For example, in Russia, they are known as the Bodark. In France, you have the Loup-garou. In Scotland, the Wolver. And in South America, the Lobazon. And even in countries where you don't traditionally have wolves, you have similar legends. For example, in India, you have were-tigers. And in Africa, you have were-leopards and were-hyenas. And even in Mexico, you have were-jaguars. A shapeshifter, something that combines the element of human and animal together into one single body. From a scientific perspective, is quite troubling. An enormous, bloodthirsty, cunning wolf that also happens to be bulletproof. Is it possible that the Shermans encountered one of the werewolves that may have been haunting Skinwalker Ranch for centuries? And if so, what physical evidence is there to support such a fantastic notion? Many of the accounts of animal annihilation from Skinwalker Ranch describe animal carcasses that have almost been surgically dissected. Certain large cats can make very clean, precise wounds, things like mountain lions and such. But this is notable that they have had so many accounts of weird livestock mutilations from